Hello, SS1 Economic students, you're welcome to class. In today's lesson, we are going to be looking at supply. By the end of the lesson, you should be able to define supply. You should be able to state the types of supply. You should be able to explain the factors affecting supply. You should be able to define and explain a supply curve and a supply schedule. And you should be able to state the law of supply. What is supply? Supply can be defined as the quantity or amount of a given commodity that a producer or a seller is willing to offer for sale at a particular market price and at a particular period of time. What is the law of supply, or what do we mean by the law of supply? Now, this law of supply is just a concept that explains the typical situation that ensues um, when supply of a commodity and price relates to each other. The law of supply states that the higher the price of a commodity, the higher the quantity demanded, and the lower the price of a commodity, the lower the price and the lower the quantity demanded, all things being equal. What are the factors that affect supply? We must understand that supply is said to be effective when quantity demanded and when quantity supplied is backed up by a market price and willingness to offer for sale. Factors affecting supply of a commodity. Now, the factors affecting supply of a commodity includes: one, price of the commodity. The higher the price of the commodity, the higher the quantity supplied. That is, when prices of goods are high, producers will be induced to sell more of the commodity. Two, level of technology. The more advanced level of technology used in productivity, the higher the level of production, hence the higher the level of supply. Cost of production. If cost of producing a particular good is reduced per unit of the commodity, then quantity supplied will increase, because cost of goods produced reduces quantity supplied. So if cost is reduced, quantity supplied increases. Government policies. Favorable government policies like government legislation will induce production to increase, but unfavorable government policies like uh, increase in tariff, quota system, uh, government restrictions or ban of a commodity will reduce quantity supply. Weather conditions. Favorable weather conditions in production of agricultural produce increases production, that is when there is adequate rainfall, but unfavorable weather condition reduces production. Taxation. If taxation is high, if taxes imposed is high, then quantity supplied will be low. Then lastly, prices of other goods. If prices of close substitute are high, if price of close substitute of a particular commodity are high, then quantity supplied of a particular good will be high, because consumers will buy more of the goods and supply will increase. Types of supply. There are three basic types of supply. We have the composite supply, joint or complementary supply, and competitive supply. Let's start from joint or complementary supply. Supply is said to be joint or complementary when two or more goods are produced and supplied from the same source. When you produce a particular good and another good from the same source, then that supply is said to be joint or complementary. For example, we get kerosene and petroleum and petrol from crude oil. Therefore, the supply and production of kerosene from crude oil will also affect the production and supply of petrol from crude oil. Therefore, if supply of kerosene increases, the supply of petrol will also increase. Therefore, these two commodities are said to be jointly supplied. Two, composite supply. Supply is said to be composite when two or more commodities are produced and supplied in order to satisfy one want. When two or more commodities are produced and supplied to satisfy a particular want, then the production or supply of those commodities is referred to as composite. For example, the production and supply of different types of rice, Dangote rice, Honeywell rice, Golden Penny rice, um, Bauchi rice, Benue rice, or all forms of rice. If you bring them together, all what they combine to form is called a composite supply. Therefore, the supply of a particular commodity uh, is actually in tandem with another commodity. So we are just looking at the whole supply of rice in the rice market. Competitive supply. Supply is said to be competitive when a particular commodity is produced and supplied in order to satisfy two or more wants. If a particular commodity can be produced and supplied to satisfy two or more wants, then that commodity is said to be having a competitive supply. For example, the supply of wood. Now, wood can be used for so many reasons. Therefore, if wood is supplied, it can be used either for firewood, for making papers, for making furniture. Now, let's look at the supply of wood for making furniture, for making firewood, for making papers. The supply of wood for making papers will affect the supply of wood for making furniture. Therefore, if the supply of wood for making papers increases, therefore the supply of wood for making furniture will reduce. The two of them are said to be competing with each other. Therefore, they are in competitive supply. So, supply is said to be competitive once more if a particular commodity is supplied in order to satisfy more than two wants. Supply schedule. A supply schedule is a table that shows the various quantities supplied of a commodity at various prices. The table that shows respective prices of a good and quantity supplied is referred to as your supply schedule. While your supply curve is a diagram that shows the relationship between prices of a particular goods over a period of time and the respective quantity supplied. So we've come to the end of the lesson. If you have questions, please post in the question and answer section and have a wonderful day. Thank you.